to a client's introduction to metabolic clearing. I'm sure by now that your practitioner has already taught you about the process of the metabolic clearing program that you'll be going through over the next few weeks. I want to take this opportunity to guide you a bit more closely through the procedure and your expectations. I'm sure by now your practitioner has already spoke to you about toxicity, and this is why they've driven you towards this metabolic clearing program. I just want to go through what is toxicity. Well, it's any substance or environmental influence that disturbs metabolism and can damage an organism. So where do you get those sources from? Well, it's the air that we breathe, the water that we drink, and the food that we eat. It's impossible to avoid exposure to toxins. However, we can definitely work towards minimizing them. Now, before you begin your program, I'm sure your practitioner has sent out to you a metabolic clearing pack. This is full of your questionnaires that you need for the weeks ahead. First thing that we want you to do, and if you haven't already done this with your practitioner in clinic, is to take your waist to hip ratio. In order to make sure that the ratio is the same at the beginning and end of your program, we want to make sure that the landmarks we use to take those measurements are exactly the same. So how to find those landmarks? First, you want to find your 10th rib. Your 10th rib is the last of your fixed ribs. So if you feel for that now. Next, you want to find your iliac crest. That's the next bone you can feel down after in the gap between your ribs and the next bone down. What you want to do is place your finger midway point between those two landmarks, and that's the first place you want to take your measurements. Be sure when you pass your tape measure around your body that you go back to 0, because often a tape measure has a small amount of a gap before you get to the 0 mark. So make sure you record from the 0. The second landmark that you're looking for is what we call your greater trochanter. This is your hip, and how we can establish where your hip movement is to lift your leg and turn it out to the right-hand side just a little bit. You'll feel the movement of your ball and socket, and that's your greater trochanter, and that's where you want to be placing your next landmark. So you want to take your tape measure again around the body, making sure you go back to the 0. Give both of those measurements to your practitioner, and he or she can help you find out your waist to hip ratio. The next thing you want to do is complete your first medical symptoms questionnaire. What you're doing is you're recording the symptoms that you've experienced over the previous 30 days. You score them, 0 being no symptom or not a problem for you at all, up to 4 being a frequent and the most severe symptom. Tot up each section within that MSQ, and again, hand that back to your practitioner. They may want it back at the end. You've also got a toxic exposure questionnaire in there. There's just one of those, and that's to help you and your practitioner to ascertain where your sources of toxicity may have come from, whether it be home or work or environmental toxin exposure. So again, hand that back to your practitioner. Now, one thing that your practitioner and I encourage throughout this process is to keep a journal. It's the opportunity to write down your goals. What is it you're hoping to achieve from completing this program? Is it to feel more energized? Is it to support weight loss? Is it to support a disease process within your body that you're hoping to reduce symptoms? Whatever that goal is for you, write it down. That way you can stay positive, stay focused during the 2-week process that you're undergoing the metabolic detox. You can record your daily successes, identify challenges and how you've met them, and really keep it positive. And during that, you might make notes or questions that you want to take back to your practitioner. Now, before you begin the process of the metabolic clearing, what you want to do is start the week before by reducing your sugar, alcohol and caffeine consumption. I really emphasize the reduction of the caffeine, and do this gradually over the week leading up to the metabolic clearing as to avoid a caffeine withdrawal or headache. Eliminate artificial sweeteners. These are found in all products that are labeled sugar-free, low sugar or diet but are still sweet. So we'll find them in sugar-free squashes, diet drinks, low-fat yogurts, low-fat jellies, just to name but a few. And we want to take these out. I'm sure your practitioner spoke to you about these in the past. It's to aid detoxification, because these aren't cleared through the body and they build up and become very toxic within the body. If you want any more information on these, speak to your practitioner. During this time, you also want to think about forward planning. How over the 2 weeks of your metabolic clearing are you going to fit in all of your other commitments that you've got? So maybe what you want to do is some additional planning and thinking about what meals you're going to put in place on each day. Booking some lifestyle changes. Maybe during this time it's the opportunity to treat yourself to a massage or some sort of activity that you don't usually give yourself time to do. Maybe it's something as simple as going out for a walk in the countryside that although you might enjoy, you just don't have that time to fulfill. And also it's during this time, it's about forward planning with your shopping. So for those of you that do internet shopping, you might want to change the usual foods that come on the internet, or maybe you want to take this opportunity to start ordering an organic vegetable box, something you might have thought about in the past but have never been able to fulfill. So this is your opportunity to start that planning process during this first week. Now, it's really important that we take on board a rainbow of colour every day. Look at the plate that's in front of you. Does it include foods that are green and yellow and orange and white and tan and blue and purple and red? Each of those different colours brings different phytonutrients that support the body in a different way. And this is why it's so important to make sure you've got that full rainbow of colour each day. Your practitioner may have already spoke to you about the need to go organic. In an ideal world, we'd eat all food organic. It's not always possible due to availability and due to cost. However, this cheat sheet shows us which foods are most affected by herbicides and pesticides on food. These are the foods on the left-hand side. These are what we refer to as our dirty dozen. Whereas the foods on the right-hand side are what we call our clean 15. So these are our foods that are less affected by herbicides and pesticides. So these are ones that there's less need for organic. However, like I said, in an ideal world, we'll eat as much organic as possible. It might be worth bearing in mind these foods for when you're eating out. So, unless you're going to a wonderful organic restaurant, the chances are the food that's in front of you is not organic. So therefore, maybe you want to focus on eating these foods and reducing your toxic burden that way. Now, it is important at this stage to highlight that not all of the foods on the Dirty Dozen and Clean 15 are those allowable during the metabolic clearance program. However, it's always worth bearing these in mind even beyond the program. So that's why we've included a full cheat sheet for you there. Now, during this week that's leading into your metabolic clearing, you also want to start becoming label savvy, thinking about hidden sugars. If you start to turn over the back of the packet, the jam jar, the sauce jar, any food that you're eating from that you're not cooking from scratch, and start to see where sugar falls in that ingredients list. Remember, the higher up the list, the more there is within more of that ingredient there is within that product. Now, during the metabolic clearing program, we're taking out our allergenic and intolerable foods. These are foods that can cause more stress on the digestive system, cause more stress on the immune system, and this is why they've been eliminated from the program. So during the 2 weeks that you're following the program, you'll be eating no gluten, no dairy, no soy, no eggs, no corn. There'll be no drinking of alcohol or caffeine, no artificial sweeteners or sugars, no nightshade family, and the reason for that, nightshade family is our tomatoes, our aubergines, our peppers, and the reason that we've taken those out is because they're quite inflammatory on the body. So for this period of time, we're going to eliminate those. And we've got low GI fruits and vegetables. So they're fruits and vegetables that don't cause the body to have a big sugar spike. You might be sitting there thinking, oh my goodness me, what am I going to eat? But I'm sure when you look at the list, you'll agree there's still an abundant amount of food available to you. And it might encourage you to think outside of the box. Think beyond the usual half a dozen meals that you feed yourself or your family on a regular basis, and actually start doing some cooking from scratch or thinking about different recipe ideas, of which we have provided you with some. Also, it's not just about the food that we put inside of our mouth. Think also about the cleaning products that you're using within your house. Think about the products that you're putting on your skin. Here we've given you an idea of a do-it-yourself cleaner. It's cheap, but yet still really useful to keeping your house clean. So let's just step back and take an overview of where we are so far. So what we're going to do is we're going to get organic food where possible. If we can't go fully organic, we'll focus on the Clean 15. We're going to get that variety of colour going in there. We won't lose sight of exercise during this program and actually getting your body moving. We're going to make sure that we take on board adequate water. That's looking at 2 litres of clean water each day with additional water for exercise. And we're going to make sure we've got adequate sleep. We need a minimum of 8 hours sleep each night in order to rest and repair the body. And we're going to get rid of herbicides and pesticides, toxic cleaning products and beauty products, so thinking about what you put on your skin. We're getting rid of sugar and caffeine, alcohol and smoking, the dirty dozen, those most affected by herbicides and pesticides. And also during this time, I want to be thinking about detoxing stress from our life as well. How can you minimize the stress that you're under? So, thinking about the food. Now, days 1 to 6, these are where we're going to be following a organic diet wherever possible, focusing on the dirty dozen, eliminating dairy, gluten and other allergenic intolerable foods, eating a rainbow of colour, aiming for a minimum of 9 portions of fruits and vegetables, ideally a maximum of 3 of those being fruit each day, and following the food plan. So you've already got your food plan. If you haven't, make sure you get your practitioner to give you a copy of it. During days 7 to 9, these are our liquid-only days. This is where we're really going to take the burden off the digestive system, so therefore the energy usually used for digesting is now going to be able to support detoxification through other systems within your body. There is an unlimited amount of soups and juices and herbal teas allowed during this time. So it isn't about being hungry, it's not about going without. So my advice to you is make sure you're well prepared during these days. Cook yourself a big vat of soup so that you're never hungry. And then days 10 to 14, we're reintroducing solid food, remaining free of gluten and dairy and those other allergenic intolerable foods, keeping social poisons eliminated, keep blood sugars balanced, and eating foods to support your liver. They're all the foods that are on your food list. Supplements. Follow the advice of your practitioner with regards to supplements. But don't forget, let food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food. Food is our primary medicine, so we don't ever want to lose sight of that. You've got to make sure that you're well hydrated during this process. It's important to stay well hydrated throughout your life, but particularly during this time where we need to make sure that we're flushing those toxins through the system. So be thinking about 2 litres of clean water. If you need any more advice on the purity of water, make sure you ask your practitioner. And then it's thinking beyond food. How can we support our bodies to clear those toxins through our body? Exercise is really important, especially exercises such as rebounding and skipping, where you're getting your body moving, you're getting your lymphatic system working effectively. How about booking in a massage to aid the clearance of toxins through the body? Saunas are another great opportunity to aid elimination and detoxification. And make sure it's really important to keep happiness as part of this program. I mentioned detoxification of stress. Stress is has a really negative effect on our health. When was the last time you enjoyed your life? So during these 2 weeks, make sure you put time inside to go out for walks in the country, spend time with your family. Think about the things that you usually would like to be doing, but due to time or other restraints, you've stopped yourself from doing. I've already mentioned exercise. If you're not already exercising, now is the opportunity to drag those trainers out from underneath the stairs and start wearing them. Whether it be taking your trainers to work and moving in your lunch break, whether it be going to a class with a friend, whether it be going out for a walk or borrowing a neighbour's dog and taking them dog walking. There's lots of opportunities out there and they don't have to cost you extra money. As well as movement, as well as food, we need to make sure there's time in there for relaxation. Thinking about some deep breathing, thinking about different ways that you can aid relaxation. That may include meditation or yoga. Speak to your practitioner if you need any more advice on these. I've given you an idea over to how to incorporate abdominal breathing into every day, making sure that you're filling up the full capacity of your lungs and following this through as part of your daily regime. I often advise my clients to partner it with an activity that they do on a daily basis, such as getting dressed in the morning and undressed at night. You do that every day. So during those times is make time for deep breathing. And making sure you've got good quality sleep. In order to sleep well, we need to follow advice of good sleep hygiene. We've already taken out the caffeine and nicotine. We want to be avoiding nighttime activities that are going to stimulate our nervous system. We want to be making sure that the room that we're sleeping in is dark and quiet and a relaxing environment. If you live on a busy road, maybe you need to think about using earplugs or even wearing some form of protection to keep out the light so that the light is not affecting us, whether that be an eye mask or whether that be a blackout blind, whatever it is for you that you need to aid that good sleep hygiene and get that good quality minimum of 8 hours sleep each night. And then thinking long term, what else can you do to minimize toxic exposure? Avoiding cigarette smoke, and that includes secondhand smoke, avoiding charred meat and burnt food, eating organic, continuing to stick to that cheat sheet I've provided you with, drinking purified or spring water, eating sea vegetables, incorporating those into things like soups or stews, minimizing consumption of high mercury fish. There are big fish that can be laden with heavy metals. Drink alcohol in moderation, avoiding over-medication. Speak to your practitioner if you need more advice on this. Avoiding synthetic pesticides and herbicides. Using non-toxic cleaning agents. Using non-toxic carpets and avoid new cars. Use natural cosmetics, shampoos, perfumes and nail varnishes. Use clean indoor air by putting plants in there to help with the recirculation of good quality air. Use BPA-free bottles and glass containers to store food, and avoid Teflon, the lining of many non-stick pans. Now, as you draw your metabolic detox to an end, what can you do to reintegrate back into the outside world? Well, consider elimination or reduction of those social poisons, alcohol, sugar, or nicotine. When you've gone without them for 2 weeks, do you really want to bring them back into your body to slowly reburden your toxicity? Keep your clean living, so thinking about continuing to use your natural household products and changing your beauty products long time. Keep going with your clean, avoiding your dirty dozen, but sticking with your clean 15 fruits and vegetables. So what now? As your metabolic detox draws towards an end, on the final day, complete your second MSQ, your medical symptoms questionnaire, complete your second waist to hip ratio, and complete your second BMI by doing your weight again, and return all of your paperwork to your practitioner. I'm sure they'll sit down with you and explain and help you to interpret the results that they've got in front of them. And remember, change is the essence of life. Be willing to surrender what you are for what you could become. And the path of health is yours to take. Your practitioner has obviously led you this far. Now make sure you take the right path forward. Good luck on your metabolic clearing program, and I look forward to hearing